Hello and welcome back to Popcorn and Plot Holes, where we watch Shin Godzilla.
Yay!
Woo, indeed. With me, as always, Luciano.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
Yeah, great talk. And coming back from parts unknown, Spencer.
Woo!
I got him on a loop.
He's not actually here, folks. We just got a loop of woo.
Woo!
In order to satisfy the deal with the devil that we clearly have to be doing whatever we're doing, we had to sacrifice Chris in order to get Spencer back. So we made said sacrifice.
Woo!
No, Chris pulled a Spencer today, and actually a worse Spencer, because normally when we pick shit movies, it's Spencer that picks them, and then at least he's here to talk about it. But Chris picked this one, and he was like, "Nope, gonna do something else instead of talking about it."
I mean, I would love to shit on Chris, but I actually picked this movie.
Oh, did you?
Chris suggested minus.
Then all is right with the world.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Chris suggested -1.
Oh,
Which is
that's
in
right.
theaters.
That's right.
And then we were like, "Oh, we can't go to that." And then
We
I
only
said,
do streaming
"Maybe
movies.
let's do Shin Godzilla."
What's the worst that could happen?
Perfect.
Well,
Hey, whoa, hey now, we are going to discuss the movie. You don't know if it's good or bad, dear listener.
yeah, because
So
nobody
let's,
watched it.
No one has watched it.
Yeah.
Actually, it's reviewed fairly well in terms of like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll get into that. Let's start where we always start. We start positive.
Yeah.
We hit these movies at a really high note. What was your favorite part of Shin Godzilla?
Well, I have one on the
Great.
docket. So it's a blink and you'll miss scene, but you know when like Squirrel Godzilla or Raccoon Godzilla is waddling through the canal, like displacing boats and like
Yes.
there's a scene where they show Godzilla from the front, and then like some boats and water and shit is spilling through the street, and there's this single guy running away from the debris and the boats, and he looks like an anime running, like, you know, in anime when they make the guy's back turn into a reverse C, and he's all like, and it's I watched that scene like 4 or 5 times, and I laughed my ass off on that scene. That scene was the best scene of this whole movie. Just hilarious. Like, just the guy alone making his like whatever $20 as an extra, just running away from debris. Perfection. That scene.
I'm concerned that you picked a man running from debris in an entire Godzilla movie. But,
you should be
in the background.
Be concerned.
In the background, yeah. Spencer, can you pick something more, well, less in the background than what Luciano picked?
I mean, I think it was a beautiful celebration of bureaucracy.
Ooh, now we're talking.
Just really elevating the genre with a love letter.
Yeah.
What else is in the bureaucracy genre besides this film?
There's the Adjustment Bureau.
Okay, yeah.
What?
Classic.
No,
I don't know. It just has
not
bureau in the
about
name, okay?
In a way, Minority Report is about bureaucracy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Would you like to know more?
That's not the Minority Report.
That's Starship Troopers.
That's it.
I know.
That's it. Those movies.
Those 2, 3, great. Do you want to expand on what about the bureaucracy that made you so excited?
Yeah, I mean, it really shows when you have a really good team and a system and about 4 to 5 weeks of prep time, what you can get done.
Especially if it
No matter
involves
the
like
problem.
150 people.
You can do anything with bureaucracy and enough prep time. But prep time is the key ingredient.
Well, and you need backup sites, so you can, a series of nondescript rooms with 4 walls, no windows.
And 40 people inside each one of them.
But you can't use one room for all of it. It has to be
No.
a changing room, because I believe the conference room was changed. I counted, I believe, 3 times
Yes.
in 20 minutes, in the opening 20 minutes of
Also
the film.
very important. is that depending on what you're doing, you need to change clothes. You need to put on some weird
Yes.
uniform and then turn
Overalls.
back over
Very-
and
very
then
popular.
go back to suits and then go back
To
the
a suit and
uniforms.
tie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you know, you can't just wear whatever you want. This is a professional atmosphere we're trying to run here.
The mark of a good bureaucracy is lots of rules designed
Yes.
to make sure everything works.
As slowly
following
as
the rules.
as slowly
slowly
as
as
possible.
As slowly and unefficiently as possible.
Yes.
I mean, in defense, like we live in Toronto, and they have built us a they call it an LRT. It's a light rail transit. It should have opened 2 years ago, and it took them like 4 years to build, and they still haven't opened it, and they still won't tell us when it's going to open. So, in the face of that, these people who managed to deal with Godzilla and take him out 5 weeks, great job, everybody.
is true.
Knocked it out of the park.
That is pretty solid. You know, but like I said, time is the key. You know, the light rail system will get built.
True.
Trust the
Yeah.
bureaucracy. This movie taught me anything. Trust the bureaucracy.
All right, that's a good one. I think that's much more in line with the movie than what Luciano gave us. I am going to pick something that I think we all can cherish. I really enjoyed how much America was in this movie.
America.
You know, when I watched a
how
foreign
much
language
or how
film,
they put
yeah,
it?
I mean both is fair.
Okay.
Watching a foreign language film, you know, I was pretty excited. You know, in general, Godzilla, love it. Japanese doing their own take on Godzilla. Generally, they've been really good, so I was excited for
Doing
this.
their own take.
Yeah, well, like it's because we can talk about the Matthew Broderick, like the Hollywoodized take on Godzilla. Like, if you want,
You just showed our age.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're talking about the Hollywoodized version. We're not talking about the last 4 movies that came out in the last decade. We're talking about the 1997
I've watched none of them.
version.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's because that's a definitely no Japanese person was involved in
Yeah.
the making of this.
Hey, you want me to
That's in the title card.
let me show my age even more. I cut class in college to watch the Matthew Broderick one in the theaters, and I fell asleep watching it.
The first of many mistakes in your
Yes.
life surrounding.
Yes,
That
yes.
explains why you're on this podcast a little better.
Yeah. Oh my god. What about
So yeah,
so what about America
like,
in this movie that
well,
you
you know,
enjoyed?
I just I enjoyed how they, you know, it was a very faithful interaction with America of America showing up and meddling where no one wants them to be.
Yep.
Capped off by the brilliant idea of Americans to just, hey, you know what we should do? Because this worked out so well for us in the past. Let's nuke Japan again. Technically Godzilla, but he's in the middle of Tokyo, so we're going to nuke Japan. That's the only way to solve our problem.
That's the only way.
See,
Worked in
can
WW2.
you see by the dawn's early
Yeah.
light.
That's
Power.
That's the best damn country in the world.
That's the US's response to any problems in Japan. It's like, what is it? What is it that a nuke can't fix? Come on. Oh,
Nuclear
my God.
power.
Nuclear
I actually did watch a couple of the I guess they're Hollywood versions, I think, but like the Gareth Edwards ones, right?
Yeah, I saw that one. That was the only one I saw.
The one
Yeah,
with
it
Bryan
was-
Cranston?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was good. I have no complaints about that one. Like, it was a fine Godzilla movie.
Okay.
But anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Shin Godzilla,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately. So we're gonna stay the course. This movie is mercifully a 2-hour movie about bureaucracy, and it starts off great. I gotta admit, actually, I was like, basically, you start off and there's a little creature that just pops out of Tokyo Bay.
yeah.
It was great.
Does anybody know about Tokyo? Because they said Tokyo Bay. It came out of Tokyo Bay, which, yeah, I understand. But the creature traveled some crazy distance and wasn't in Tokyo yet. And I just
I
thought
don't
Tokyo was closer to Tokyo Bay.
I don't understand either. Like the geography
Okay.
of it is weird. It's like they show some like radioactive waste in the ocean, but it looks like it's fucking hella deep. But then Godzilla just kind of like walks out. I know he's big and everything, but he just walks out of the water as if it's like kind of shallow. I don't understand how that works.
So, I mean, we should talk about Godzilla's. So Godzilla shows up in the movie real early, And if you didn't catch Godzilla, that's fine because they brought out a dead raccoon with scales like on Godzilla's back, or like I guess it wouldn't be scales, but
like not pterodactyl, like
They
Stegosaurus.
Yeah,
Stegosaurus
spine. Yeah,
fins.
spine.
Yeah.
Spine fins.
and like gills along his like torso or
And
something.
gills, yeah. Yeah,
Don't forget the eyes
and the googly eyes.
Yeah,
Which are very
yeah.
important.
and the dead googly eyes.
Dead, yeah, completely dead. No eyelids.
That's
just
Just
That's how you
just
know this movie
dead.
is serious.
yeah.
Soulless googly
Dead.
eyes.
Like it's
The
like
deadest googly eyes.
it's like a meth-infused hellish dream version of Godzilla. It's like a nightmare, a living nightmare version of
It was.
Godzilla.
Admittedly, I did not know that was Godzilla. I just thought, hey, oh, there's some weird
No.
creature running around. Oh, that's why
Yeah.
Godzilla's going to show up. Great, no big deal.
Godzilla's gonna save
was-
Tokyo from this creature.
Yeah, that's what I thought that too. It was kind of like the Geico gecko if he fell off the wagon
No.
and fell deep into a dark heroin addiction.
Yeah, I was gonna
He's a
say
zombie. He's a zombie version, right? Like he
he-
dies from
he-
being
he-
coked out.
Yeah, but no, it was bath salts, and he came back as a zombie.
I was gonna say this is like the gecko, like a gecko mated with a raccoon, and the whole family had some sort of terrible accident with like radiation. That's what that looks like.
You know what? I just got it. Here's the best description.
Okay.
Who is the squirrel character from Ice Age?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know that one that's always
Yeah.
after the acorn?
Yeah.
It looked like a lizard version of
Yes.
that.
Yes,
if
that's
it was
exactly what it is.
gigantic.
Okay. Yeah. With
Right?
like little nubs for hands too.
With little nubs for hands, exactly.
Yeah.
And the same kind of weird googly eyes. So, audience,
No,
you got
but-
it now.
But deader.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
deader, exactly, much deader.
Yeah.
That was
So this
genuinely
creature pops out.
terrifying.
Yeah. So that's right. So this creature pops out of Tokyo Bay. I got to be honest with you. I don't
Hilarity
know how,
ensues.
I don't know. He's straight. Hilarity ensued. I don't know. I don't know if you guys. How did it move through the outskirts of Tokyo? Because it's plowing
rolled.
through. It's plowing through like the city, much like you would see a creature destroy a city in the original Power Rangers series.
Yeah.
And
yes.
it's just chugging towards downtown Tokyo.
and then stops for whatever reason somewhere.
Yeah.
It's
Does
just
it-
like he
only-
ran out of fuel, and then it stops.
Yeah,
Because he didn't really have limbs. Its limbs were quite short.
It had
I
back
can only
limbs.
imagine.
It had back limbs and he was
Did
like,
it?
yeah, and he was
Oh,
like
that's right.
pushing itself, like just
Yes.
grinding its own
Oh,
chest against the
that's right.
ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was like,
And-
when those people can roll their stomach,
Oh
like
my
in a
God.
wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I pictured
The
its
worm-
belly
the
was
worm.
doing that to propel itself forward.
He's just worming around. No, Luciano's right. Godzilla basically is like a T-Rex, right? So he had like the big beefy legs, but you never saw his little stick fronts. So he
and-
just plowed himself through the countryside.
When he like raises itself up, and you see, it's not even like tiny hands like a T-Rex. It's just knobs. It's the most
Yeah, they're like little
disgusting-
nubs.
Yeah, just little tiny disgusting nubs. It's like what the why? Stop.
And
with
for
that.
some reason, it like pukes blood out of gills.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What was that about?
About that. Yeah, I forgot. That never came up again.
No. It just
Never
it's like
explained and never
walking
happened again.
around and then like blood pukes out, and that's the only time it happens, and nobody talks about it.
So no one knows what this creature is. He runs in. I guess there's some light casualties. They seem like they evacuate everybody more or less. They talk
Did
about
they
evacuating.
I don't think they showed a single person really die. No,
Oh,
that's
they-
not true.
They
They
did,
showed
they
some
did.
of the bureaucracy people, not like like the
In-
civilians.
Well, in this first stage, they didn't show anybody die.
Yeah.
because they do show later on. We'll get to it, but later on they definitely show people die. And then so this thing goes in and then decides to turn around and go back into Tokyo Bay for reasons that the scientists don't know, which is fair.
Oh
Like,
no,
no one
they
knows what's
say
happening.
why. They say why because it needed to cool
sorry,
down.
I'm
It
sorry.
needed to cool down. It was too warm or whatever.
Cool. So we
As
need
we
to
know-
cool down.
Fire is its natural enemy. Heat is its weakness.
Yeah. So Godzilla then, the unnamed creature goes back into Tokyo Bay and like stays there for like a while, right? Like weeks or week.
Yeah.
Time is a flat circle in this movie.
enough that the bureaucracy with a capital B is able to put in like a response plan for when it shows back up.
Yes, that's right. And they like start bringing in like biologists and botanists. They said a bunch of science words that I honestly don't remember.
They said experts.
Yeah.
Well,
Literally the experts like, I can neither confirm nor deny I have any opinion on this matter.
Yeah.
It would be detrimental to my position if I said something wrong. I'm like, why is this man in this movie?
yeah.
Like, what's the point of that
when they
conversation?
bring like the specialists and they go like, oh, we haven't studied it enough, but we think that this might be the case. And then the only person, that woman, who's like, no, this is what it is. And then they all turn to her as like, how can you say something with this much confidence? It's like you know something. That's why you're here, because you know something. Shut up, child. I'm gonna say, well, we're sure it's not gonna come ashore. And then like literally the next scene is like, oh, it's come ashore. This happens 3 times in the movie. Every time the prime minister says something to the
Makes an
public,
announcement,
Yeah.
the opposite happens.
yeah. Oh God.
So that happens, and then almost proper Godzilla shows up. He looks like Godzilla, but things aren't
No, yeah.
right.
It's Godzilla with developmental problems.
If your eyes were replaced by dead googly eyes, he would
googly
look like
gecko
Godzilla.
eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's not quite there. And so they start talking about
You know what it is? It's like someone asked someone to draw Godzilla from memory, but like the original Godzilla from the first movie. Can you draw it from memory? And then they put it in the movie. That's exactly what it is. It looks.
I think that's fair.
It looks a little bit more like what you expect Godzilla to look like. It still has
Right.
T-Rex arms for whatever reason,
Sure.
and
He's Godzilla-ish.
yeah,
Yeah, he is. And then he starts headed back towards the center of Tokyo. Do they ever explain why he's going to the middle of Tokyo?
no,
They ask the question, but they
Yeah.
don't know the answer, right?
yeah,
They certainly asked the question and discussed the question
yeah, but never
and
answered it.
hypothesized the answers.
So it's about this time that a special envoy from the United States comes to help the bureaucracy out. And we meet one Kyoko Ann Patterson, who is American by birth, but has an Asian mother, as far as we can tell.
American by birth, Japanese by actress.
Yes, perfect description.
And she is sharing a bunch of information, and we learn about Goro. Unfortunately, it's not the Goro you want it to be.
No,
is
it's
not
not.
Mortal Kombat Goro.
Yeah,
Forearm Goro from Mortal Kombat.
I would have
kicked in the
watched
nuts.
Goro from Mortal
Right?
Kombat trying to deal with Godzilla. That would be fun.
Just
to
show
watch.
up and be a scientist,
Yeah.
little tiny glasses. Make him look smart.
Goro thinks we could coagulate his blood. That's a good idea, Goro.
Goro identified extremophile configuration. Nice.
So this Goro is Goro Maki,
Yes.
and he
The
he
worst of the
is,
Goros.
He's the worst of the Goros.
It's so bad it doesn't even show up.
He is by title, by reputation, an anti-nuclear zoology professor.
Yes.
Apparently that's a job for somebody.
One of two.
Have you seen the titles in this movie? That's not even the most outrageous job in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
Anti-nuclear zoologist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those don't seem to overlap.
No, because
Well-
he's mad because of what the U.S. did to Japan in the Second World War. That's why
Yeah.
he's anti-nuclear.
It's one of these things where having written it down, or it's where the English language fails, because his title isn't anti-nuclear zoologist. His title is zoologist,
Who's
but his
also
belief is anti-nuclear.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like being pro-war carpenter.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like they're not like mutually exclusive at all.
They're not. It's not like he's using his carpentry for war, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. And this guy, or by way of information from the American government, he discovered Godzilla, and he actually helps them name Godzilla.
Yeah.
And in this movie, do I understand it correctly that the Americans call it Godzilla, and so the Japanese adopt the name?
I hated that so much.
Right? So,
but they call it Gojira.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Americans are the ones who give the name back to the Japanese, and then they retranslate it, or like they erase. Like, oh, it's not Godzilla, you fucking stupid foreigner. It is Gojira, and then they say what it means. Yeah, but I hated that the Americans had to give the name back to the Japanese.
Yeah, it's dumb. So, and then
that was a 5 to 10 minute scene, if I recall.
I'm trying to piece
discussing
this
the name.
Because there's a lot going on in this. So I think now we're at the point where Godzilla has made it into the middle of Tokyo, or mostly as far as he's going to make it. Let's put it. He makes it to his final.
Parks.
Like
he parks.
Well, he kind of just
no.
He chills, and they attempt to use. So actually, before this, they've attempted to use military force to stop him. The self-defense force. I don't know why they call it that. Of Japan takes some cracks at stopping him with attack copters with the tiniest bullets known to man.
They gradually increase in armament.
Yeah,
it's so slow. And finally, that all fails, and a couple of copters get blown up, and Godzilla starts sniping off some stuff to let him know he's not cool at this. So then the U.S. military apparently just has an aircraft carrier off the coast of Japan for reasons, and they bring bombers. They bring stealth bombers, which...
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows Godzilla has radars.
Famously.
For dramatic effect.
Yeah.
All of the scales on his back are actually radar dishes.
Yeah, exactly. So then they have to be stealth, otherwise... Well, it didn't matter, because at the end, even with them being stealth...
He just fucking nailed them without being able to look at them.
Yeah.
So the U.S. bombs them. Actually, the U.S. apparently cuts into them with their bombs they drop. You can see them... The blood is drawn. And
why do the explosions make blood gush out like that?
Do you not know how bombs work?
They came out of his gills.
Yes, that's why I'm asking. Anyway, you were saying?
So they do it. They bomb. Godzilla.
He gets pissed.
He gets fucking pissed.
Yeah.
He starts popping off. He gets a beam weapon out of his mouth.
Bitch.
Yeah.
He starts popping off.
He's beam weaponing buildings, people,
beaming
shit,
helicopters,
Stephen Willie beaming over here.
Helicopters. Yeah, he's really beaming everywhere.
Stephen Willie beaming.
And then all of a sudden, he escalates to where all of his back radar dishes just start firing lasers into the sky like like a fucking EDM concert.
It was 100% a rave. It's a rave. It's a rave. 100%.
It's a full-on rave.
It changes stealth color. Bombers.
These stealth bombers that, by my understanding, travel, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers an hour, breaking the speed limit when they need to.
Yeah.
He pops them all out of the sky.
The speed limit of the sky?
The sky speed limit.
The sky speed limit? What is that?
Well, any other place they would be fined, but here
they're going 500 and a 400. Okay, they can't do that.
The sky speed limit is very slow.
Yeah, it's very it's very rigid
because Godzilla hits every single stealth bomber in the sky and knocks them out. They're just hovering above him, circling.
It's the advantage of overkill, right? There's no kill like overkill, so Godzilla's like these dishes on my back are not getting the stealth bombers. I'm just going to shoot lasers everywhere. I'm going to get something.
Yep.
And he gets all of them.
Ad infinitum. The lasers go on forever. We don't see where they stop.
Yeah.
And this is where you see some people die because there's people in their apartment building packing up.
Yeah.
And Godzilla just fucking slices her building in half.
They're
and you see them slide out the window to die.
They're packing up in the slowest, most parsimonious way.
Yeah. They're like,
so bad.
Honey, do you know where my toothbrush is? I swear it was hidden. Should have just brought Listerine.
Yeah. Also, I think this movie has a problem with extras because, that's the only apartment we see people fall. It's a huge building, but we only see that one family. And then afterwards, there's a scene where they're showing this just unbelievable amount of destruction. Right after the attack, and there's 3 people picking through the wreckage that would take like 3,000 people to pick through. There's like three people moving debris from one side to the other, not doing anything really.
The city felt like lifeless, like truly.
Yes.
Like it's like a video game where you go out and it just feels like they underdeveloped the open world. You know, it's like we have a gigantic open world. It goes on for
nobody
50 miles and it's just like grass. That's what it's like. The cities are just like buildings, and you see like some stock footage of people running into like the subway.
Yeah.
They even did the anime thing of repeating scenes, like towards the end when they're like hooking the hoses. Like they show that scene 2 or 3 times, and it's like literally exactly the same scene every time.
Yeah, this movie reeks of.
We should point out at this point. It
yes.
does. We should point out at this point after Godzilla throws his EDM rave party, and he also, unsurprisingly, catches the prime minister's helicopter and just vaporizes the entire thing, losing like the prime minister and the top 20 like cabinet ministers, which is the first rule of how you don't evacuate the government by putting them all in the same tiny helicopter.
Not only did they evacuate the most important people all together in a single helicopter, but like the people that were actually responsible for running the program or operation to go against Godzilla, they're like, you know what? The city is chaos. There's destruction everywhere. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take a car. We're going to drive to this other place for reasons.
We're going to drive into the largest traffic jam in
the history of world,
in the history of time and space.
And then immediately they go, the traffic is so bad. Who would have thought? Oh, my God.
Rush hour. Am I right?
I was so pissed at that scene. I was like, what the fuck was the point of this?
This also reminds me that they spent a lot of time showing us buses.
Yes.
We see buses. There are buses leaving like a parking lot. They fill the entire freeway. We see buses loaded onto an aircraft carrier. I don't know how they got on there. There's a bunch of them on the aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And we see buses of people everywhere. That's them evacuating very slowly. So, president's dead.
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. Thank you. Yes, the Prime Minister is dead. They find the oldest Japanese man left in cabinet and elect him the new Prime Minister.
Yes. Who's the bubbliest fool we have? That's the guy.
Right. Great. And so they go back to the bureaucracy, finds a new windowless room, and gets back to work.
Gets right back to work, doing the important things.
And this is when 2 things happen. They get papers. They get the papers from Goro on what he knows about Godzilla.
Well, if we're going to beat Godzilla, we need papers. We need papers. Yeah. We need pens. We need calculators.
We need more bureaucracy. That's how we beat Godzilla.
We need manila envelopes. We need them stat, goddammit.
Laptops. Yeah.
Post-its.
Don't find a solution.
Don't forget, slightly before this, the main character, so to speak, assembles a team of people to kind of deal after he proved twice that the old fools were fools. And it's like, yeah, this is a creature. We have to deal with this. And they put together this team, and the guy that is like the second in command says one of the cringiest lines. I wrote it down. One of the cringiest lines I've ever seen in my life. He says, "We're a crack team of lone wolves, nerds, troublemakers, outcasts, academic heretics, and general pains in the bureaucracy." I was like, nobody in the history of space and time has ever said that line
in
ever.
His defense.
That's how I describe our
English
podcast.
Translation is a little rocky.
Maybe. I don't think that this was much better in the original Japanese. I don't speak the language, but I have a feeling it was just as cringy.
When people say, who's on your podcast? I say, we're a group of outcasts. Losers, nerds, lone wolves,
and pains in the bureaucracy.
And we make our own path. You either get on or get out of the way.
And they have a lot of laptops and a lot of papers to kill Godzilla.
Don't worry, they leave them behind. It's not important. But they do get these papers, and this paper is all this information they can't figure out about Godzilla. And like any good movie about Japan, one of the scientists finally figures out they just need to use origami to figure out
naturally
the secret scientist's code.
What else would it be?
Because if you're researching a dangerous radioactive creature, you would put all your information in code just in case anybody found it.
Yeah, you wouldn't want them
make it.
You wouldn't want them to know how to use it.
No, because you didn't. It's not like you created this creature. You did not create this creature. You just discovered it.
Yes.
So it's important that no one figures out how to do anything with it.
Well, you want to make sure that if someone figures it out, they know origami. That way, you know
they do.
They have to deserve
you can trust them.
You need to be pure blood Japanese, and the only way to prove it is you know origami.
Oh no!
That's the only way.
Origami power.
You know what? I think this has been a lot. We've like a half an hour. Of
I'm like,
movie, and we're not done. So we need a pause. We need to just pause and reset here. And I think a good palate cleanser would be for us to take a pause and do a little segment I like to call. Did you even watch this movie with Spencer? So Spencer, did you even watch this movie?
I mean, yeah, like of course I watched it. There was Godzilla. I mean, like you said, there's a raccoon with dead eyes. No, I did watch this movie, and I regret it so much. And I'd like to just listen. As exciting as this entire recap is, let's just get to the bare bones, okay? Let's just jump right in. Godzilla comes. They meet to discuss Godzilla. Nobody believes them.
Sure do. Right.
There's footage of it, and the government can't get access to it.
Correct.
Except for one guy who's on Twitter, apparently, or whatever.
Yep.
And he's like, they have footage. It's everywhere. No, it must be a pipe burst.
Yeah.
There's a lizard walking down downtown Tokyo.
No, it must be your impression.
Sounds like kids pulling off pranks. Once they confirm it is Godzilla, they move to another conference room. I counted they moved conference rooms 3 times in the first 20 minutes of this movie. That was their set pieces. was the moving from conference room to conference room. This goes on for I think, how long would you say was before like the Godzilla action scene? Would you say 50 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
It was like a good solid hour before Godzilla arrives. Godzilla arrives, as Matt described. They bomb him. He shoots lasers out of his back. And I shit you not, he goes to sleep afterwards. Godzilla takes a nap. And what do? They go back to their meetings. And they go back to the bureaucracy. This is where the movie completely, as a viewer, you're watching it, you're like, when the fuck is Godzilla going to fuck shit up, right? Must be what everyone's thinking who's seen this movie.
Sure.
He comes in.
It's a Godzilla movie, of course.
He fucked shit up for like 10 minutes, and then it went back to the bureaucracy, and I was like, no, this isn't happening. They're not going back to the conference room.
Spencer, I don't know if you know this, but the word Shin in Japanese is bureaucracy.
I would believe you. Yeah. And after he goes to sleep, there's literally a line where I'm like, well, Godzilla's like going to fucking wake up because the action started now. He's going to be back at it in like 10 minutes. They're like, we ran the calculations. Godzilla's going to be back up and running in 14 days. I was like, 14 days? I was like, what the fuck? Like, this movie is insane. He's going to be sleeping in the middle of Tokyo for 14 days. And they still don't fully evacuate the city. The government is just a shit show. Essentially, we'll get into the ending. But
Spencer,
yes.
Did you watch the movie?
I watched the movie. I did watch the movie. You know, I'm going to be honest though. I think by the time that Godzilla took his 14-day nap, I was out.
You stopped watching the movie.
I was out. I kept it on, but I was like, I couldn't take it. I'm gonna have to defer to you guys in terms of some of the characters because I was like, I mean, I don't understand like what this theme was, and I want to get into it later about the themes of this film. But I would say, final answer: I watched the movie. I'm sticking to it.
Great, and that has been. Did you even watch this movie with Spencer?
Nice.
let's speed this up here real quick because I think we're at the end anyways. It's another like hour, but we'll just pop it off real quick. Godzilla sleeps for 2 weeks. The Americans decided it's a great idea to bomb Japan one more time. They forced them to let themselves be bombed through the UN because
they take over control of the government, or they would.
Yeah, they try to take over the control of the government, and so basically the new prime minister is like, hey, how do I let the US take control of Japan? Is one of his questions.
Yeah.
And then we learn about this is it anticoagulant or coagulant?
No, it's just
plant?
it's a coagulant.
It's a coagulant.
Long story short, they're going to freeze Godzilla.
Coagulant
and they
means
have to
freeze in this movie.
Sure. So, and then they got to make all this. They figure out it can work from the origami news reports. And so
these are real words and real story points.
It's not a news report. It's an
Matt
origami
is not
research.
having a seizure. He's
it's
saying
right.
real story points.
It's the origami research project.
Yes.
Nets them. The coagulant will probably have a good chance of succeeding. They got to go find they got to go bureaucracize to get a bunch of the coagulant made by a bunch of different. Did they make it in different countries?
Yes,
they make it
in different
public.
places, and
Yeah, they make it public and they make it in different countries because, listen, you know what doesn't take time? Shipping large containers of coagulant across the world. Not important. And then they come up with their plan. They drive a subway into Godzilla's foot. He falls over. They beat him up until he runs out of energy again. They drive a bunch of trucks and they basically have like garden hoses on these trucks and spray the coagulant into his mouth. He leaves it open the entire time.
Yeah.
At one point, he gets a little testy and like laser beams a couple of them, but he's too tired to go on, and they just spray it into him. And then he gets up, and then he's almost going to kill everybody. He freezes, and there's tiny human beings trying to climb.
He freezes instantaneously.
And you know he's frozen because like snow and like ice vapors are coming off his body.
Yeah.
And you may
That's
ask
how
yourself,
freezing works. Yep.
Matt said they beat up Godzilla till he lost energy, and you may ask.
Yep.
How'd they beat him up?
How?
Didn't he just describe them bombing him with everything? And the answer to that is yes. Good question.
Yeah, everything. Bombs. They bombed them with buildings.
Yeah.
They bombed them with trains or subway cars.
They bombed them with missiles launched from ships that hit buildings that fall on him.
Yeah, don't hit Godzilla with the cruise missile. Hit the building so the building falls on Godzilla.
And then it kills.
So he doesn't know it was you.
So he is very resistant to explosives, but he has very poor sense of balance. That's what we learned.
The worst. And then it works, and they also happen to prevent tiny humans with looks like they have Godzilla dorsal fins from climbing out of Godzilla. Yay, bureaucracy!
We did it.
And at the end, we learn that humanity now must learn to live together with Godzilla for some reason.
Yeah, the frozen.
Yeah, because it's gonna come back. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a sequel.
He's gonna melt, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a plot hole to talk about.
Fuck you, Matt.
That
felt like reliving it. I
nicely
hate that so much.
Into it. You're welcome. It was the only way to make sure everybody understood the movie because I don't think anybody's going to watch it. And now you understand what we've done.
I hope that if we accomplish one thing today is that we encourage people not to watch this.
If even one person who is planning to see Shin Godzilla doesn't,
our work is done.
We can go home happy today.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're right. I think we're trying to do a public service for everybody. And we've left off a good spot.
The word hero gets thrown around a lot these days.
It does. We left off in a good spot for our plot hole section because the main plot hole, there's a lot going on here, but the main plot hole we could figure out is science.
This movie has the concept of science. Yes.
That's a real problem with science and how it works. We've laid out many cases already. We've laid out the idea that a coagulant can freeze a body. We've laid out the idea that Godzilla has to sleep for 14 days, 2 weeks, and then he wakes up and they can drop buildings on him and he goes right back to sleep. That's not even a science thing. It just pisses me off so much I can't keep talking about it. But so back to the science. They say a lot of sciencey buzzwords at all times. about, Godzilla, and like he has gamma radiation in him, or he's powered by gamma radiation. It's all nonsense. There's so much nonsense.
Nothing works in this movie as far as science goes.
Nothing works. And we talk about the laser beams that go on into the sky forever. Like, it's not like a laser blast. It's just a straight beam.
I think he probably sliced the moon in that way.
I assume he did. That's how it works. And those laser beams definitely exceeded the airspeed limit around Tokyo.
So maybe the worst thing he did.
Yeah,
it was.
He went against the bureaucracy.
Real crime.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Too far.
But like, so let's talk about let's unpack a little bit of the problematic science. We understand when you're telling a science fiction movie, as this is, you want to have a little bit of leeway. But this movie sets itself up to be essentially Earth, and it's an alternate Earth in the sense that kaiju exists, but it's Earth, and so they have the same knowledge level and resources as Earth does.
It's like Earth, but boring.
and yet they don't know how science works, or they can't find the right words. Like, again, translations notwithstanding, like, there's got to be a better word than coagulant for what they're attempting to do to Godzilla.
Yeah, because they talk. Like, ever since they find that thing, because that's the whole point of the US coming in. They're like, oh, we know that there's this guy who knows about Godzilla, and he has a plan, or he studied Godzilla somehow, and he was the only one. He alone was, as a zoologist, was able to figure all of this shit
an
up.
Anti-nuclear.
Exactly.
Zoologist.
The anti-nuclear zoologist was able to figure all this shit out, but nobody else
Luciano, I just want to say that we don't know where he went, but he was in Tokyo Bay. When they go on that ship at the very beginning of the movie and the ship's empty, that's Goro's ship.
Yeah, and he goes, do what you wish. Whatever that means. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so they
what
figured
an
it
asshole.
out. Yeah, he is. And then they figure out, and ever since they picked that up, they say, oh, we have this plan to coagulate his blood. And you would assume that it would kill him because the blood doesn't flow anymore, which makes sense.
Yeah, it's like too thick and it can't. Yeah. I was like, okay, I get that.
Yeah, and then they do the little fucking, how you have when you have a pet and you have to give it an injection or medicine. That's what they did with Godzilla. Just medicine.
Like, stop! Like, no, stop it!
Don't bite!
Stop. Hey, it's good for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it did. Yeah. And then they inject it, and then he starts moving slowly. And I was like, "Why is he moving slowly?" And then
he's coagulating.
All of a sudden, he's standing up. He's like, "Oh shit, he's gonna fuck things up!" And then he instantly freezes, like someone doused him in liquid nitrogen. I was like, "What the fuck happened there?"
You know how coagulants coagulate?
Yeah, they also freeze. Mm-hmm. I love that they go. They measure it somehow. They go minus 196 degrees. I'm like, how did they do that in with the coagulant? They made him freeze that much in open air. Like, what the fuck is going on? And I don't know.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think that Demolition Man understands how freezing people works better than this movie?
100%. 100%. What's his name? Simon. What's his face?
Simon Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
that's what they needed in this movie.
When Simon Phoenix gets frozen.
Yeah.
And then he kicks him and he shatters.
Right.
That's like Godzilla's not alive anymore. If you froze him, he's not alive. This isn't.
It's not cryogenics.
He didn't freeze him. He coagulated him, and then kicked him.
But then he froze, and he was at minus 196 degrees.
Is coagulating a Godzilla? Is that cryogenics, or is it Demolition Man frozen?
It's neither. It's
a fucking poison.
That's it. That's the scale. You got to pick one. Tell me which one it is. I don't understand.
It is okay. So the way that they did it, it's definitely Demolition Man freezing.
Okay, great.
Yeah. All of those scientists don't know what coagulation means, basically.
Because when they put poison, like snake venom in blood, and you see the blood coagulates, it becomes almost like thick foam, and that's what I thought they were doing.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I was like,
But
oh, they're
turns
kind of
out
like
that when
poisoning
you
him.
when you coagulate blood, it also goes to almost minus 200 degrees.
Hate when
Like,
that happens.
yeah, so bad.
Okay.
Also, can we talk?
Yeah.
Unless we want to talk more about the coagulation, can we talk about how bombs work, like explosions work? Because
Luciano, what's your boggle? What seems to be
I
your
don't. I
boggle?
don't. I
yeah,
don't understand. Obviously, we can talk about bombs, but
like
they work fine. They explode.
They explode.
no, they not in
Yeah.
this movie. I mean, they explode in this movie.
Yeah.
But like at the first time when they shoot Godzilla with like missiles and shit, it doesn't even break a stride, right?
Correct.
And then
Well, no,
they don't.
they drop bombs, and that does.
Yeah, why? Why is it that bombs dropped from the American ships works, but the bombs shot from the Japanese ones don't?
Because those bombs were
Because-
patriots.
Americans have big, giant missiles
I see.
that everybody loves,
Oh,
and the Japanese have tiny little
see.
missiles that don't get the
Oh,
job
no.
done.
You
Oh
see?
no! Did you actually go there?
This movie's pro-America.
Yeah, definitely,
Nuke power.
but also not pro America because you know.
I don't know what this movie is.
Yeah.
It's both pro and against so many things.
Yeah, yeah, and then like they drop those bombs from the stealth bombers that they flew to fool Godzilla's radar, and the bombs hit him in the back on the antennas, and then he
Yeah.
bleeds from them.
Yeah, the bombs don't explode.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
I guess they do explode, but it's not the explosion that makes them bleed so much as like they're like sword bombs that
Yeah,
like stab
that's
into his
that's
back.
what it looks like, right? It's like they're
Yeah,
dropping
yeah.
knives at him or whatever. Yeah,
Knife bombs.
knife bombs.
It's like what is it with the sword guns from Final Fantasy?
Yeah,
It's knife bombs.
there you go. That's explained.
Done.
Yeah, but
Anything
then
else?
Idiot.
they drive trains full of bombs, I guess, into Godzilla. And
My
that
biggest
does
issue with the
something
train
somehow?
bombs was how they, just for the audience, they jump the trains. They're like driving trains full of bombs at Godzilla, and then right before Godzilla, they go off like a half pipe ramp.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
imagine like a
yeah.
skateboard, like half pipe, and they go
Yeah.
whoop, and they go up, and then they explode like about hip high with Godzilla,
Yeah,
and that happens with every train every time. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, how did they get this set up? Was this the existing setup of the train system?
yeah.
Yes.
It's just to make commute be a little bit more,
a
entertaining.
little more exciting.
Yeah,
It's like there's like a huge ramp, loopy loops. They got it all.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is those train bombs make Godzilla fall over.
yeah. Exactly.
That was the thing that bugged me the most.
He has weak hips, is what we find out.
He's got hip dysplasia.
Yeah.
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
That's why he was napping for so long. His hips just ached, and he's like, I can't.
He needs life
Storm's
alert.
coming. I gotta settle
Yeah.
down.
The
You were a loved
rain
one?
is making it ache.
Yeah.
My bones are aching, Annie. Storm's coming. The Godzilla with hip dysplasia is the greatest concept I've ever heard. So that thing bugged me the most. It's like literally like 2 scenes earlier. Sorry, not 2 scenes. 40 minutes of talking earlier.
Yeah.
Godzilla was hit with every bomb known to man and like barely
Nothing
he
happened.
didn't break a stride. Like it was like he was like
Yeah.
an unstoppable machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
End of the movie, once they have a plan to coagulate him, they put an explosive hip high this displaced hip, and he like literally like collapses and like can't move. And it's like we've got him to use all his power. I'm like, wait, when could we do this? Why is that?
Yeah.
We should have been doing that from the beginning.
Well, and it's the trains, right, exploding at hip height, and
Hip
and
high,
also
man. They'll get you.
and then also the buildings fall, like they planted bombs into like 5 or 6 high-rise buildings around him when they were scared to get close to him, right? They were like, oh, he's
Correct.
30 kilometers away, aren't you scared? And the guy was like, yeah, we should probably move this somewhere. But they're like, no, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get a bunch of bombing crews up a bunch of buildings right around Godzilla. We don't know when he's going to actually wake up. We think it's in 14 days. It could be 28 days, given the pace of this fucking movie. And then they bomb the building so that they fall on him. How do they know that he's going to fall? Nobody knows. But then they leave one building out. They're like, this building is different. This building needs a ballistic missile from a carrier to topple it over. The other ones we can bomb, but this one needs to be hit by a missile.
Yeah, it's a U.S. embassy.
They couldn't bomb because it was
illegally.
the embassy.
It's illegal.
I see.
It needs to. The missile has been endowed with the legal freedom to explode it.
Yeah, in U.S. soil, which is the
On U.S. soil.
Yeah, the missile is U.S. soil.
No, wait, the missile is U.S. soil?
Yeah,
it's carrying a little bit
over.
They put a little bit of dirt inside the missile, so now it's U.S. soil.
And so when the building falls over, it's always on U.S. soil.
Ah, I see. So what you're saying is when the U.S. goes and bombs Godzilla, they're bombing a little bit of U.S. soil too.
Yeah, because they're trying to claim like righteous domain over Godzilla at all times.
Wherever they bomb, they own.
They are, yeah.
Wherever they bomb is legally America. That's just the law.
I mean, of all the weird shit we've said tonight, that is the truest thing we've ever said.
Yeah.
And once it's U.S. soil, they can break the speed limit all they want.
Airspeed limit, ground speed limit,
don't matter.
Whatever.
I thought this was America. So that was probably the most annoying thing. And then, again...
I have a question. Sorry, Spencer. I have a question because we're talking about this now.
Yes.
How does radiation work in this?
I was going to ask as well.
Look, don't ask me. In real life or in this.
Luciano. Well, one thing. They called it they didn't call it. The translations said microservience. Do they not use Geiger counters?
It's microsieverts. That's
sieverts.
That's the actual translation.
That's
the actual.
That's idiot.
That's that's fine. That's
that was
one thing
probably the only correct thing they did as far as science goes in the movie.
At one point, the team bureaucracy all go up on top of a building to watch all this shit go down in Godzilla.
Yeah.
And they are very seriously concerned about the radiation levels around Godzilla. They make several comments about how the radiation levels have exceeded by double the acceptable radiation levels for the Operation Coagulant they're pulling off. Just to remind all the listeners at home, we talked about it, but it's important you know. The backup plan was for the U.S. to once again bomb Japanese soil. With a thermonuclear warhead.
Yes.
They actually said thermonuclear.
Yeah, they did.
I'm not sure if everybody else here is familiar, but generally, nuclear warheads, whether they thermonuclear or otherwise, contain a lot of radiation. Extreme amounts of radiation.
No, you don't understand, Matt. You don't understand. There was so much radiation that they had to nuke it. They had to.
It was going to cancel each other out.
Yeah,
everybody knows this. In this movie.
You can't once you get too much radiation, you can't get too much, you know?
Yeah, it circles back and starts going down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much like so that they were like, life. Okay, so let's just okay.
What?
Okay.
We don't have time for that, but what?
Yeah. They even say, like, you know what? Let's just let the U.S. nuke Tokyo. I guess that's what they do. And then after Godzilla's dead, the next day we can start rebuilding. That's fine. It's like...
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
The leaders of Japan sure have a hard-on for nuking Japan through this movie.
Yeah.
They're like,
this is a wholly Japanese movie. It's not like it's the U.S. making a movie about Japan. This is like Nuke Me Daddy, basically. It's so bad.
I'm pretty sure that the male lead said that to
Kayoko
Patterson.
Yeah. Nuke me senpai.
Patterson at one point.
Nuke me mummy.
Yeah. Nuke me senpai. Yeah.
Yes.
You're correct, Spencer. That's what it was.
That's what they said. That's what they.
I remember that scene.
Yeah.
That was a great, fantastic scene.
Sometimes I wish we had real titles for these podcasts because it would be Nuke Me Senpai.
Yeah, it would.
For sure.
It would.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other science plot holes that we see before we try to fix this plot hole?
I mean, we talked about the coagulant a lot. We talked about Well, we didn't talk that much about his evolving, quote unquote. That science didn't really check out.
At no point did he evolve, but he evolved constantly.
Yeah. No, they even say it. Oh, he's evolving before our eyes. And no, he's not. It's called
He's
a mutation,
growing.
buddy.
Yeah. It's like he's just growing. I evolved from age 10 to 11 this year. My son has evolved so much in this year.
Yeah, that's how it works.
He's evolved pubic hair.
That's how words work, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's how it works. I'm evolving. I'm my beard. So basically that sums it up pretty well. That was how they explained him growing.
I think we've covered it. It was a good point to call out the evolving. Though.
Yeah, that whole scene where he gets pissed off at being bombed, and he goes from like having like hot air breath, and then immediately becomes fire, and immediately goes, you know what would be nice is if I concentrated all of this fire into a single point, and then it magically became a laser.
You know what? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna call what's the word I'm looking for?
Shenanigans.
No, I'm gonna call shenanigans. I'm gonna call what do they do in sports? I'm gonna call a red card on
penalty.
Yeah, that's not the word I'm looking for, but an audible. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm gonna call an audible on that one. That scene was the best scene in the movie. It was the only good scene in the movie, and I saw it as Godzilla's breath just like getting more condensed and hotter. Like it started off like normal, and it was like just like getting divided until it became a laser beam. And when it became a laser beam, it was like it had this really cool sound effect.
Yeah, it did.
It was like almost like a lightsaber. And that whole shit was fucking dope. And I was like,
I'd be fine with all of that if it didn't become purple all of a sudden for no good reason.
Listen,
like,
it looked
if
cool.
If it was white or even the color of fire, I'd be okay with it. It was like, no, you know what we need? We need this to be a rave.
Was it purple or it was bluish?
It was bluey purple. This isn't an episode of I'm actually a nerd.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're fine.
I don't care.
Listen, you can shit over this movie for a lot of things, but fuck
that
you.
Scene was cool. I agree.
I will stand by Godzilla shooting lasers.
Okay.
The scene where he turns the mouth beam and like kills
the city,
the bombers. That scene was cool. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've established that's very cool. Scientifically, we're going to allow it.
Yes.
I will allow it for coolness factor.
That's right. 2 points of order. One, Spencer. All of the things you said about sports were wrong. What you did. You threw a challenge flag.
Thank you.
Challenge Luciano's point just to get the sports somewhere near making sense. Secondarily,
I scored a touchdown for 2 innings.
Great. Yeah. Secondarily,
and won that quarter of basketball.
That's great. Actually, basketball has quarters.
Yeah, that was accurate.
So you nailed it.
I know it does. But the other two terms are not basketball. That's what I'm saying.
It's like, oh my god, it's like you don't plot holes.
All right,
challenge card.
Let's wrap this up.
Audible. I know. Yeah. Okay.
How do we? Oh god, I'm going to put a timeline on this because we don't have time. You got a minute each to fix the scientific plot holes.
Oh, there's no fucking
I got
way.
Easy.
All right, go.
Spencer's got this.
Go for it.
Yeah.
You're going to give him 2 minutes.
Okay. I'm fixing all the science issues?
All of it. All of it.
All right, start the clock. Go.
Okay.
The main character is Gandalf. It's... Now let me finish.
He's replacing the
Japanese.
He's Japanese. It's Gandalf, spelled differently, pronounced differently. I'm not going to get into how or what it sounds like because I don't want to be insulted.
Probably a good idea.
And the female president from what was her name? The femil
Kyoko.
Japanese.
The president.
Whatever.
She wants to be president.
She wants to be president. Ambitious. She's actually Oppenheimer.
Oh god.
This is already a way better movie. And together they create a coagulant, and all you have to say is based in a liquid nitrogen base and mithril.
So what you're doing... I was going to say, so what you're doing is you're just making it wrong differently.
I'm making it so wrong that it seems intentional.
I see.
You can't be this. You can't be this wrong while trying to be right. Because Matt's big point that he said at the beginning, he said they seem to be saying this in the real world to a degree,
right?
But it's clearly in a fictional world where bureaucracies are effective.
Yeah, that would be the most unbelievable thing.
But if this movie was in real place, they'd all be dead by their third conference meeting.
Yeah,
they spent so much time. I just picture this movie like Godzilla just hit the city. There's another 1,000 dead. I'd be like, all right, but let's get lunch because we can't have this meeting on an empty stomach.
Spencer, I have a very important question. I think you solved the problem, but do you think that the Eagles will obey the airspeed laws of Japan?
Probably.
The Eagles.
Eagles are known to be lawful good, so
the real question is why didn't the Eagles simply fly the coagulant into Godzilla's mouth?
Yeah, it's true. Why did they have to fly the people?
Why did they have to
all the way from one conference room to the other conference room? Yeah.
Why did the Fellowship of the Coagulant have to walk all the way from Tokyo Bay to Tokyo to throw the coagulant into Godzilla's mouth?
You have my
That's
laptop.
The question.
You have my spreadsheet.
Spencer, you solved it.
Yeah.
This is the perfect movie.
Godzilla and the Fellowship of the Coagulant.
And my pocket protector.
Yeah.
Great. We've answered all these questions. I want to move on to our special questions, ones where we really dive into the
important parts, really.
The important parts of the movie. Okay, let's make this an easy first question. Which government do you think is more ruthless? The Japanese government that exists in this movie, especially the one that is trying to let the US take over, or the Empire in Star Wars?
Are you talking about the original, the Darth Vader era, not the New Order?
The Emperor era.
Right.
Emperor era. That was pretty cutthroat.
Yeah.
Because yes, in the Star Wars, when someone was killed, like when Vader killed the guy, choked him to death, and then promoted the guy beside him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They weren't cheering. The guy was like, "Oh shit." Right?
Right.
Yeah, he was they were all disturbed.
They were disturbed.
Yeah.
Now in this movie, 10,000 people died.
An opening.
A spot just opened up. Literally, like 10,000 people died, and they're
agree.
discussing how this is going to help their business, their move up in the company.
Yeah, they even discuss at one point. It's like, at this rate, you might be prime minister in 10 years.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
You
So I
fuck.
agree with Spencer. It's like, I think the level of ruthlessness is somewhat similar, but the glee that they take in having an opening in this movie is a little bit more. It's a little bit too morbid, I think.
How cutthroat is the Japanese government? Where it's like they're the only way you can move up in the company if 10,000 people above you are killed in a Godzilla attack, and then the guy's like, "This could be good for your career." I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's what you're thinking of? He doesn't even and the weird thing is that he's not like, we need to focus on getting this done. It's like, yeah, but I never really wanted to be in the bureaucracy. It's like my dream was always in changing the world. And I'm like, you should be like chastising that guy and being like, you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
No.
But
okay.
So I think that answers the question. Clearly, Tokyo Godzilla bureaucracy is much worse.
Oh, it's the Japanese.
Yeah.
It's the whole country's government. Don't worry.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I don't want to label Tokyo.
No.
No, it was all of what is this universe? Godzilla Japan.
Yeah.
We'll call it Shin. We'll call it Shin Japan.
Shin Japan. Yeah.
Shin Japan.
Yeah, perfect.
Shin Japan is monstrous.
Okay. in the movie, one of the big solves by the Fellowship of the Coagulate is that they are able to take the scientific research from Project Origami and discover what it was by literally folding the papers. They say, we're going to use origami, or the guy's like, origami is the solve for it. But the thing we're missing is that
if that was done in any other language movie than Japan, people will go, this is the most racist fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's fine. This is why sometimes I wonder if Americans didn't help make this
maybe,
movie.
yeah.
But who knows?
The secret is sushi. It's like, Jesus.
Soy sauce. Pour soy sauce down his throat. He's going to die.
It's the key.
But it's only California roll.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But so they don't talk about, like, you see them kind of folding around, but I want to know what shape, what thing did they fold the paper into to actually solve it? Because origami is you make shape. You don't just like fold the paper 4 times and call it a day.
Right.
How awesome would it be if it actually showed them folding it and making like a Godzilla
yeah. That's what I thought they were gonna do. I was like, oh, they're gonna make like a little origami Godzilla. That's gonna be cool. And they just did like some like accordion folding. Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
I think in the end it was like a little Godzilla shape. And here's the thing: if they had caught Godzilla in the original raccoon gecko dad form, they would have to have shaped it that way, because then whatever the configuration in the paper was would accord to that. So that's how much of a origami
I don't even understand what that means.
Was.
So when they folded it into the shape of Godzilla, they like even in the movie, like when they fold it, they could read it.
Yeah,
that's the Pepe Sylvia thing I was talking to you guys about earlier. The paper on its own is like Pepe Sylvia. There's lines and colors, and no one has any idea.
Yeah. But when you fold it, they go, ooh. Actually, they go exactly like Matt said, origami. Like, what? Yeah, but they fold it in a way the only way I can understand this is they folded and then they were able to read it when it was folded.
Right. The only other answer I thought would have applied is, I don't know if you, Luciano, you might not have had this where you grew up, but you know, like Spencer, like the paper fortune tellers where you fold it and like you ask questions like, you know, what's your secret crush? And they open and close it like
the corner.
Like the high school thing.
You pull the corner to get the answer.
Like when you go the little like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say a number and 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. What color?
It's like Godzilla. G-O-D-Z-I-L-L-A.
Pick a color now. I've had that. Yeah.
Purple beam.
Pick a color of casualties. Pick up a number of casualties from 10,000 to 50,000. 30,000. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, does the prime minister make it or not? Yeah. No, he doesn't. 1, 2. Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes actually. Maybe that's what they did. It wasn't origami. It was like fortune telling. Yeah. That makes sense.
Oh, great. I'm glad we solved that. Next question. Godzilla or Gojira, he is the final form of the Pokemon of whatever this creature is.
Right.
But we obviously have the dead-eyed raccoon. the dead googly-eyed raccoon.
That was the starter phase.
That's the starter phase. So what is its name?
That's when you capture it, right? When it's weak.
Yeah, you capture it. Just throw it in Tokyo Bay and capture it.
I choose you, dead rat.
Yeah,
dead ratathon.
Okay, so it has to have a similar name, right? I'm not super versed on Pokemon.
Let's go through some Pokemon just to give us an idea. So
right,
you got Bulbasaur, and then you got Ivysaur, and then you got.
Yeah, I know. Like you have Charmander, and then Charizard, and then there's one more. I know, like
no, it's Charmander, right? Charmeleon, and Charizard.
Right, and Charizard is the one that has the tail with fire, right?
Yes,
or something like that. Okay.
By that thinking, Bulbasaur, Venusaur, Ivysaur, you got to have one element that's used in all 3 names.
Right,
either the ending or the beginning.
Or the end. Okay.
I'm just going to go straight out with it. I'm going to say Ratzilla.
Okay, I was going to go the other direction. I was going to say it's Gojira in This is gonna be such a stupid joke. I can't believe I'm gonna make it.
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there.
No, you're not. You're not. This is only gonna make sense here.
I'm saving you from yourself, Luciano.
He's trying so hard.
You can't say I'm
He's
on
too
this
far
train.
gone. He's too far gone.
Gojira is the final form, and Go Train is the first form.
I hate you. I tried.
I hate myself. It only makes sense in Ontario. Okay. Redzilla is good. Raccoonzilla is also good.
And then what's the middle one?
There's no
was there a middle form? We kind of saw a middle form.
A little bit.
Yeah,
there was. Because like he opens when he gets pissed off, he opens like a mandible.
That was kind of cool. I like cool. That. We'll call that Predator or no.
Yeah, Predatorzilla.
Predzilla.
Predzilla. Yeah.
It sounds like a sex pervert.
Awful. That's awful.
Sounds like the VIP on Epstein's jet. Predzilla's coming to the island again. Oh boy!
Oh, not again!
He's here every weekend.
Better get some more extra bleach. Yeah.
His name's Bill Gates. I'm just joking.
My God! Fucking shots fired.
I'm just joking.
All right.
Microsoft sponsor us.
His name's Bill Clinton. His name's Donald Trump. There, I'm putting all the names out there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Spencer.
Everyone hates me now.
Sorry. Yeah, that's fine.
What?
I'm going to move on to the next question. I think we're done here.
It's probably safer.
It's just easier this way. A couple other questions I'm curious about. So, listen, I know they try to make Godzilla out to be the villain in this movie, but we all love Godzilla. And
good old Radzilla.
He's just well, maybe
Gojira did nothing wrong.
Godzilla is just a creature who's out for a stroll. He's got a wonky hips. He's trying to stretch it out.
He's got dysplasia.
And the kids these days, they just attack him for no reason. So what I want to know is, who is the real villain in this movie?
If I could name a character, I'd say one.
That's fair. They don't really mention many names.
I got it.
They show names, but they don't mention many names.
I don't know anyone's name, but the main character's friend, who is so excited about moving up in the company when everyone's dying, he's the real villain.
The one with the glasses?
The glasses. He's like, we'll be, we'll be prime minister.
You have a little bit of a lisp, right? Yeah, that
is he the one who said
that's the real villain? Yeah,
and he's the one who's like, "We're the outcasts." Was he the one who said that? We're the outcasts in the.
No, he joins a little later.
Okay, well, that guy's the villain.
I think the real villain is bureaucracy. That's what the real villain is in this movie.
Maybe the real hero.
Maybe the bureaucracy was inside us all along.
The anti-hero.
The bureaucracy is the friends we made along the way.
Yes. Other than that, probably the US, if we're honest. They're willing to bomb Japan again at this, like the turn of a pin.
They are very quick.
Yeah.
They literally called her like
Japan.
They literally called her like, we're willing to nuke Japan to help. And they're like, oh, you think that'll kill Godzilla? They're like, kill who now?
What were we talking about?
we got a giant lizard? Yeah.
And I love the way that they go about it when they're talking to the prime minister. They go like, "Oh, you know that China and Russia want to take Godzilla control away from Japan," and I was like, "Control?
That's have control. Like, go take them. Yes, go enjoy." That's what I was thinking too. And they're like, and then they were talking like, themselves.
If you don't want China and Russia to take control of Godzilla away from Japan, you know what we have to do? We have to nuke you. And Japan went like, okay, that makes sense.
Story tracks.
You know what? I'm hearing a lot of good points here. I'm hearing a lot of good points.
It's like you're making a lot of sense, and I just need to process this for a second. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the U.S. really is
That
the
was the
villain in
funniest.
this movie.
That was the most random part of the movie. They're like, they want control, and like maybe we can use the control of Godzilla. I'm like, who's controlling Godzilla? He's wiping
Yeah.
out all of Tokyo right now, and
Yeah.
nothing has been done to stop him in any way.
They should have, even when they said like, oh, they want to, take control of Godzilla away from the Japanese government. They should have just shown him just fucking racking things up.
Yeah.
And then someone went like, yeah, sure, fucking take it. Let's see if I care.
That's
Just
like
do something.
That's like a country being hit with like a fucking number 10 earthquake, and they're like,
Yeah.
Russia wants control of that earthquake. He's gonna take control of the earthquake. China and Russia are fighting for it. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
we're gonna use that earthquake in some war we're fighting in
if
Afghanistan.
we can only harness the earthquake.
It's like, hey, Japan, you know that typhoon that's ravaging your
Yeah.
country?
Can we borrow?
That's China's now.
Can we borrow it?
Yeah, that's China's now. And if you don't give it up, you get nuked by the U.S.
By the U.S. Yeah. If you don't
They've
give it up
offered.
for us, we're gonna send you a radioactive typhoon, and that's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think we've nailed it here. Other question. This is an important one. How many times would you agree to watching the 1997 Matthew Broderick vehicle Godzilla
Yes.
so that someone would then erase this movie from your brain?
This is like Sophie's choice.
So are you saying something? This is all asking like. So how many times would you like your nipples tased before you forgot your waterboarding? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, but it's like you have to pay a penalty fee for not rewinding your DVD.
Like, can I pick
see.
1 or 0?
No, it's like the thing I'm missing here, I think, is like they can only erase one of our brains.
And
So,
whoever's willing to watch it
Whoever
the
will
most.
agree to watch the Roderick the most gets his brain erased.
Guys,
I
just
see.
take the hit for me and just say 0. I'll take the 1 and just do me a solid. Okay? I need this.
I think I can get through a couple.
Yeah,
couple of viewings of it.
as I said, I fell asleep through the one and only time I watched that movie in the theaters.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, does it have to be consecutive or?
I was
do we
gonna
get a
say,
break?
like, how much time we got here? Is it my life?
Consecutive. We gotta get going here.
Consecutive.
This is in your brain. You've watched this movie. It's stuck in your brain. You want to just fester around
That's
in there
true,
for
that's
like a
true.
couple
Yeah,
weeks.
you're right, because there's gonna be a point where both of them are gonna be in your brain, and you don't want that.
That's just the worst.
That's true. I'm gonna
think I
say
could-
3 times, back to back.
Yep.
1997 Godzilla with the mountain
that
of
like
fish and
Yeah.
Godzilla being pregnant.
The eggs in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
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 I have
I'm
fond
gonna
movies.
say
I have
okay.
fond memories of this movie. I actually didn't hate this movie. Now, having said that, I would take the over. Wait, Matt, what's your number?
Consecutively to get rid of this. I'm only willing to do.
All right, 700.
I'm willing
That's
to-
mine. I'm just not taking a risk. I'm playing it safe.
Smart. Yeah.
You know,
I was thinking in the range of 2 to 4, so 700 seemed to
I
be
got
the
it.
right answer.
I got it, guys. I didn't want to risk it.
It was a blind bidding system.
Yeah.
You didn't know, right?
It really was.
You got to be sure.
So, just to be safe, I needed to take the W.
Yeah. That's great. So that'll be 1,400 hours of Godzilla
Yeah. Consecutive.
consecutively. How
This is
many,
gonna
how many
be tough.
days does that break down to?
It's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be worth it. How many days of straight Godzilla? Do I get to
That
sleep?
is 58 days.
Can I
58
can
days.
I sleep through this? Like, can I
2
sleep in
months.
between
2
films?
months. No, you can't. You have
Oh,
to,
God.
You have to fucking clockwork orange yourself.
I'm gonna die.
I
It's a
think,
great deal.
I think you've outbid yourself there.
You made a great decision. Welcome, sir.
Afterwards, everyone's gonna be fucking Nick Popopoulos, Potapopoulos, or whatever the fuck that guy is.
Yeah. All
it's
of your
pronounced
references at the
Papopolis.
end of time will just be Godzilla references.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh!
I'm glad we cleared that out.
Yeah.
All right, good. So we got that. We've got that done. Let's. Hey, they never explained this, so I think we should cover it because we're experts. The human skeletons that were climbing out of Godzilla that we see at the very end. What's the deal with that?
I think those were like the people he ate. Did he eat anyone?
No.
No.
Maybe Godzilla was just the people he killed along the way.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. He was made like something happened at the bottom of the ocean, right?
Right.
I think maybe those are like when he was forming into its own Ratzilla self, the initial one. It was just picking up skeletons along the way, and now he's part human. So maybe that's why the guy at the end says we must learn to coexist with Godzilla because they don't want to kill another human adjacent thing. Does that make any more sense than what they said in the movie? Probably not, but it makes about as much sense.
So I do think that Godzilla is the friends we ate along the way, like you said. But
Okay.
I think in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
he was like maybe the next phase of his Pokemon evolution was to like
Peoplezilla.
breed mini like Peoplezillas, you know, and those are all
is
going to
that
come
what-
off them and
is-
start killing
Is
people.
that what they meant when they said that Godzilla has asexual propagation via singular organism growth? Because they say that line. in the
Certainly
movie.
possible. Certainly possible.
So he's just gonna pop little human Godzillas out of his ass. Is what you're saying?
Because Matt said, I didn't notice. I thought they were just skeletons, but Matt, you said they were like humans with like dorsal fins.
Kind of looked like Godzilla-esque, like not like their skeletons kind of look like that because they weren't really like.
Because to me, it
flesh,
just looked like
right?
I thought they were just
little
people.
skeletons. Yeah.
I mean, it was so fast and like it was all they were smoking because of the freezing and
They were
I don't know.
smoking because of the freezing.
They were
obviously.
smoking. I imagine the skeleton smoking a cigar.
Listen, I was like after they broke all the airspeed laws, I just couldn't.
Like, this is so unbelievable. Everyone
not gonna
knows the
stand-
Japan air
I'm not
limit
gonna
is
stand for
400,
this.
Yeah,
400
Oh,
kph. No more, no less.
that's right. Don't go slower. I
Don't
don't
go
know.
things,
That's
no
what-
more,
Yeah.
no less.
You're not supposed
Yeah.
to go below half the speed limit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right. Don't fucking do it. So I think that's it. I think. There's
Yeah,
not
I think that's the only explanation
many-
I can think of. Or
that
Luciano,
makes sense.
or like they're gonna make. Now this would be like a really like kind of fucked up thing to do, but like, because you know how like they always say Godzilla is like a metaphor for the nuclear bomb, and
They do?
yeah, like that's where Godzilla came from. It was like supposed to be a representation of America and the military,
Oh.
and like how it destroys Japan.
Not in this movie.
Not in this movie, exactly. In this movie, America represents America.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's like those are like people who died from wars that are nuclearly fused to make up Godzilla or something. I don't know. It seems like a stretch.
It does.
I think we're gonna go ahead and do everybody a favor here and just wrap
cut
this
that
up
out.
and head into our reviews of this
We
movie.
had such a good segue, and I went backwards for that.
You didn't,
And
you
I
didn't need
apologize.
to, and
I
now
apologize
we're
to you. I apologize to my two co-hosts, and I apologize to you, the audience member, listening.
here. Don't worry, we're professionals. So segue. Let's give our score to this movie. As always, use the patented S tier ranking system. S is the highest, A, B, C, D, E, all the way down to F for Morbius. That's our ranking system. And Luciano, why don't you grade this
Okay.
fair beast?
So, much like I think both of you said, or at least Matt said, I started this movie not knowing what to expect entirely, but then in the first few minutes, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna get right into the action. That's gonna be good." And then it was all downhill from that. It was too much talking and like too like it was just a waste of time. This movie could have been an hour long with the same story, and wouldn't have missed anything. There's no redeeming qualities in the CG. There's no redeeming qualities in the story. I didn't really care for any of the characters. They all could have fucking died, in my opinion, and I wouldn't have cared.
That would have been cool.
I think this movie tried really hard to capture some sort of an anime like aesthetic and stuff like that. The director for this, we never actually mentioned it. The director for this movie is the same director of the Neon Genesis Evangelion anime, and it feels exactly like that. Only in anime form, it kind of works a little bit, and there's a lot more action. So no story, no CG, no redeemable characters, a bunch of science babble. That's just adds up to an F to me. It's just I wish I could forget that I watched this movie, and anybody then that I know and like that I can save from watching this movie, I will try to do so. So that's me. It's an F.
It's fair.
Didn't see that coming.
Really?
Of course we did.
I don't know.
My rating for this movie. This movie was like Luciano said. I looked up this movie ahead of time, and it was ranked one of the best Godzilla movies, and it has a decent ratings. And I've never been more confused going into a movie, like
Yeah.
ending a movie. I mean, like being like feeling like I just completely missed like what the fuck people are liking more than this movie. It was so horribly boring, and then I thought it was so boring that I thought it was intentionally boring because I thought the whole point of the movie was going to be that.
I
like,
think it is.
I thought it was a critique of bureaucracy to the point where it's like showing how bureaucracy, because they do nothing for so long while so many people are dying, that I thought that was the point, that they're like caught up in this like system of bureaucracy, and meanwhile all these people are dying and they're not like doing enough fast enough to save people, and that's going to be their downfall, and it was going to end in like them all dying or eventually something happening to show they need to do something different. But in the end, it was the bureaucracy that ended up saving everything, and that made me even more confused. And I was just like, I don't understand this movie. I am lost. So from a theme thing alone, I was like, I missed it. I missed the point. But also purely from a movie watching point of view, this was one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. When Godzilla came on for 5 seconds, it was kind of cool, and then went to sleep, and they continued to talk for another 40 minutes. It was at that movie that I had realized that I had lost my mind and that I will never get it back. It was just like, I was like, what in the fuck? I was so confused. So yes, I don't know if I've given an F yet on the show. I think I might have given it to Morbius. I don't remember.
Morbius and I Believe in Santa. Those were your only two.
I Believe in Santa. I mean, come on. Go and listen to that episode for the Christmas time, folks. So this movie is a fucking as hard as an F as I can give. I literally
would you say this
points.
Is like more of an F than Morbius, or about the same?
I enjoyed Morbius way more than this movie.
Yeah,
way more.
I think I agree.
It's like I kind of want to go back and reclassify.
Morbius. Agreed. I'm like I don't think Morbius deserves to be an F after this. I was like, that movie was a movie.
I mean, I'm certain that for this movie, I am certain that there is some taste issues or not. Well, it's like the Japanese audience is probably used to a different style of movie, and maybe seeing bureaucracy go hot and horny for 2 hours is something they enjoy, and so maybe that's why it is critically acclaimed there, where in the West it's got more of a mixed response. I can tell you from my standpoint, I just don't know what this movie's point was.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought
honestly,
go ahead.
I took from this bureaucracy triumphs
at the
over
end.
kindness. That's the only thing I take.
It might take a while, but it triumphs.
Slowly.
Maybe everyone will be dead.
A long period of time. As long as Godzilla cooperates by taking long naps.
To allow for the process. To allow for due process, it will.
Maybe the point of this movie is even kaiju respect bureaucracy. Maybe that's
Sure,
what it is.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I gotta classify as an F, the same as you guys, because I will never watch this movie again. The only joy I've had in this movie is that we got to talk about it and tear it limb from limb. But like, there's just like, even in Morbius, there's like, oh yeah, there's a couple cool scenes, or like, there's some decent acting, or like whatever. I mean, there wasn't, but,
like
No, there
like
wasn't.
at least like fun scenes.
Yeah,
like
yeah, it's
funny, fun.
yeah, they were trying to do fun stuff or funny things, and this, besides Godzilla's rave in the middle of the movie,
Nothing.
Yeah.
nothing. It's just a bunch of men and a couple of women sitting around in suits or like jumpsuits talking.
Like honestly,
about bureaucracy.
my only way I can think that this is like well reviewed in Japan or by anywhere, mainly in Japan, is if the dialogue we read and saw was not accurate, and the actual dialogue is like Quentin Tarantino quality dialogue, where it's like edge of your seat, like.
I mean, that's probably a lot of what we're missing, right?
Yeah.
That's all like. But I would have to say it would have to be different words.
I was thinking about it now that you guys were describing too. Maybe there's like a harsh critique of the Japanese government specifically in particular of that as well, and then we wouldn't really get it, right?
But then then the government saves the day.
They don't.
What's the guy?
If you think about it, it was the guy who was like running the motley crew of pains in the bureaucracy that saved the day.
But weren't
Right?
they?
They were going around the bureaucracy.
Were they going around them?
Right?
Weren't they like?
They were because they
permitted?
put together that team and they were doing shit.
Yes.
Right? They weren't
they were the
going
ones
through
that
the
came up
proper
with the
protocols or whatever.
The Coagulant Fellowship.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
So
then the theme makes more sense. I always thought they were just always part of the bureaucracy.
It's still boring though.
It's still boring, but at least now I kind of understand what they were going for in terms of a theme. So instead of
we can
now we can give it an F.
Not move Morbius.
Yeah,
up to
exactly.
D. It's on the same.
Yeah,
level
I was
as
going to say
Morbius.
now it's an F on par with Morbius. I
Yeah.
feel good. I feel better. Because before that, it was just a big question mark.
That is fair. The last thing I'll add is I was just looking this up because I was trying to see if the reviews and stuff were like, oh yeah, just the stuff Spencer was talking about. I couldn't really find anything. But the really interesting thing is this thing won a bunch of awards.
What?
And specifically the 40th Japanese Academy Prize of the awards. Like I think it's like their equivalent to the Oscars. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Oh,
but
man.
that's what it looks like. It was nominated for Picture of the Year, Director of the Year, Actor of the Year, Supporting Actress of the Year, Best Music, Best Cinematography, Best Art, Best Lighting, Best Sound Recording, and Best Film Editing. And it won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, Best Lighting Direction, Best Sound Recording, and Best Film Editing. It didn't win Actor or Supporting Actress or Best Music. And ironically enough, it had 2 Best Supporting Actresses nominated for the same category, which does make me ask the secondary question: are women allowed to act in Japan? Because who
was the other? Like, oh, I know who it was. It was the one like minister, the older woman who was there, and Kayoko. Those are the only female.
No, the girl.
what
There was
about-
that girl
no.
who's like the smart.
Oh yeah,
computer
the
girl.
scientist. Yeah.
she just spit hot fire. It was this spit hot fire.
Sorry,
scientist girl.
audience, you did not
That's
see
the other
that, but when Matt was listing off those awards, me and Luciano were legitimately like mouth agape.
Yes,
like
for
in
like the whole
shock.
thing.
For the entire thing. No,
Yeah.
no quips. We were. That was
We
the
couldn't-
sound.
I couldn't even think
That
of
was
a
the
quip.
sound of utter shock. You just heard.
Shock. Like I was thinking, how bad are movies in Japan that this
Yeah.
one got this many
Exactly.
accolades?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like that. You just made me convince me to never watch a movie from Japan. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Shin Godzilla.
That is the fundamental thing, right? You can say what you want about the movie and, a director. I mean, sure, whatever, like fine. But like when you start to get me down to like,
Did it win
best, like-
music?
it didn't win music. It did not win music.
Okay.
But it did win best cinematography. And I'm just like,
Honestly,
for what?
I mean, the cinematography was okay.
Some of the shots of Godzilla
Yeah.
were
Like it
kinda
was probably
cool.
the best thing of all those things that you listed, right? But like editing, what the fuck are you talking about? It was so dry. It's like what the fuck?
You know what? After hearing that, I'm
Yeah.
actually going to give this movie an F.
I think that's fair. I'll change mine to an F as well.
Great job, everybody. F for me as well. That'll wrap this up. Good news. Our next film, we've already selected it. And I think we've picked a real palate cleanser, something from a director who has really just had a pedigree that no one else can match
James
up
Cameron,
to.
Christopher Nolan.
Some sort of a pedigree.
Well, you got to assume it's got to be Quentin Tarantino, James
you mentioned
Cameron,
Chris Nolan.
Chris Nolan.
He is friends with Chris
Martin
Nolan.
Scorsese. Steven Spielberg.
Almost. You're close. Zack Snyder.
You're close. You're close.
Zack Snyder has a brand new Netflix film coming out. It is his take. I don't want to call it his take on Star Wars, but it is his Star Wars. It is his scientific space opera, if you will. Science fiction space opera.
His opus.
It is coming out to Netflix very soon. And so we are going
Some
to
say too soon.
Take a peek. Too soon. We're going to take a peek and get back to you. Early January, we're going to let you know what we think about Rebel Moon. Some of us may have purchased tickets to see it in the theater because that's how excited we are for this movie. We'll let you know if that was a good idea or a bad idea. A mistake, if you will, in the new year. But Rebel
triumph.
Moon. So take the time over Christmas or your holidays to watch it. Maybe twice. I think it's going to be such an iconic and seminal film that watch it a couple times to make sure you get all the things you need out of it before we talk about it.
And then tell us how many times would you watch it to not watch Shin Godzilla?
Yeah. 700 is the number to beat.
Yeah, so we'll see if we get there.
But for now, we will talk to you next time.